All right, so this is the thumbnail board for The Power, which was the first episode that aired of regular show. It was the second board that I boarded when I was trying to get the show picked up. And it's been a couple years now, so I'm gonna pitch it. Hopefully I don't mess it up too bad. And there's a lot of stuff in here that's left over that eventually got cut for time, so there's gonna be additional jokes that never made it. So here we go, The Power. We start on a TV, there's a dude wrestling, and he like slaps his elbow twice before jumping down and like slamming on a dude, and then we pan over to Rigby, and he's like, all right, Beef Burrito, I'm gonna give you one more chance to take back what you said about my mom. And we cut to this wrestling doll, and it's not doing anything, and he's like offended. I'll kill you! And he slaps his wrist, and then he jumps down, and he hits a trampoline, and springs off of it, and lands on the dummy, and starts beating the out of it. And then he like rolls over it all, and he like elbow drops it. And then he raises it up, and then all of a sudden, like, his hand is moving the hand like he's struggling with it, and it punches him in the face twice. And he's like, oh, and he looks over, and Mordecai's back on the bed. Tag up, tag up! And Rigby stumbles along, and he tags Mordecai, and Mordecai goes off, and then we cut to Rigby, and he's like pounding a soda, and he just spikes it, and he's like, ah! It's like Mordecai like drags the doll through. Mordecai sets the doll up next to the bed, and we see that like Mordecai's climbing up on a filing cabinet, and Rigby turns, and he's like, what? And the doll doesn't say anything. Oh, you want us to put the hurt on you? And it's like still doing nothing. I think he wants me to put the hurt on him. I think he wants you to put the hurt on him. You think he wants me to put the hurt on him? Yes, I do! Ah! 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 And Mordecai like chucks him really hard against the trampoline, and he like boing, zips through, and he hits the wall really hard. He totally misses the doll, and he falls into a trash can. All these cans fall out, and he tips over. He's like, oh, yeah. Did you see how awesome it was when I hit the trampoline? Yeah, I did. But it wasn't as awesome as when you punched that hole in the wall. And then they have a beat, and they look, and then there's a big hole in the wall, and a piece of drywall like hits the ground, and they both like, ah, scream. We cut to the outside of the house, and we cut to the bedroom door, and Rigby peeks out to see if anybody heard them, and Mordecai's in there. Not good, not good. I can't believe I listened to you. I knew I should have gone out to do some work, but no, let's wrestle this stupid doll, it'll be fun. But it was fun. Well, yeah, but now there's a big hole in the wall. Dude, we're 23 years old. We shouldn't be busting holes in walls. We're gonna get fired for this. Oh, what do you think we should do? I don't know, man. We can't fix it, and we definitely can't pay for it because we don't have any money. Well, unless you have some money. No, I spent my whole paycheck on that trampoline. Besides, I don't even know how much it costs to fix a hole like this. Probably a ton. Exactly. Which leaves us with only one possible solution. We convince Benson to give us raises so we can afford to pay somebody else to fix it. He like slowly looks down as he's saying it, and Rigby's like, dude, you're a genius. Of course, raises. Yeah. He's like, okay, here's what we gotta do, but Rigby stops him. Let me stop you right there, because I already know what you're going to say. Ham boning. What? Yeah, dude, ham boning. It's a very effective negotiation technique. You could fight off a 50-foot monster if you ham bone the hell out of it. We just go up to Benson and we'll be all like, we both want raises. And he starts like slapping himself. And he like starts going up on Mordecai, slapping him. He's like, no, man, stop it. We have to be serious about this. We just need to ask him for a raise and explain to him all the things we do around here to deserve a raise. No, 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 that's not gonna work. What are you, 65? Excuse me, sir, can I have a raise? Come on, I'm telling you, dude. Ham boning. And Mordecai's like, no. Ham boning will save your life someday. It'll be all like, what, you trying to mug me? And he just starts slapping again, and Mordecai's like, no, we're not doing that, okay? Okay? Fine. And they kind of like sigh and have a thought, and then Rigby gets an idea, and he runs off screen. Yes, what? And he's like rooting through his laundry that he sleeps in, and Mordecai's like, what are you doing? And he comes back with a keyboard. Are you ready for raises? Boop, 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 boop. He's doing that with his mouth. And Mordecai's like, whoa, how'd you get that? I sent the cereal company like 1,000 box tops, and they sent me this. Cool. But how'd you get so many box tops? I have my methods. And we like dissolve back, and we see Pops coming into the house. He's like, I noticed we were low on cereal, so I took the automobile around to the grocers and purchased some. And then all of a sudden, Rigby just comes in and starts slapping the hell out of him. And he's just like, hey, can I have your box tops, Pops? And he's like, oh, take the ball, take the ball. And we dissolve back, and Rigby's like, and then Mordecai's like, I don't know, dude, how's that gonna get us raises? Oh, come on, man. Look, before you say no, just come check this out. And they put it down, and he like takes a slow inhale, and then he just starts playing it like some weird sound, and then Mordecai's like, oh, does it have a record function? And Rigby's like, let me answer that question by pressing a button. Click. And it plays the exact same. And then you can hear, oh, dude, does it have a record function? Let me answer that by pressing a button. And Mordecai's just blown away. And his hand comes in and just touches the top of it. He's like, this is the answer to all our problems. Have you named her yet? Actually, I thought you could do the honors. Really? And Rigby nods, and Mordecai's like, you know, I've always wanted to date a girl named The Power. The Power? And he's like, mm-hmm. And Rigby's like, I like it. And then like this light just goes whoosh, and it like names itself The Power magically, and they just are both amazed, and they look at each other. Whoa. And then we wipe to the keyboard later in the park. And Mordecai, we can hear him off screen, he's like, all right, this time with feeling. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, he's not gonna give us a raise unless we really look like we deserve raises. Ready? Rigby's like, ready? And Mordecai's like, yeah, okay. And he hits it, and we hear stepping, like Rigby goes back. And then they go 5, 6, 7, 8. And they walk up, spin, and clap, and point, and they just go, give us a raise, loser. And then the music like ends for a beat, and when it's finally over, they're like, ha ha. And then Rigby sees Pops coming. He's like, hey, it's Pops. Hey, Pops. Ha ha, hello. Hey, Pops, what's up? And he's like, Rigby, Mordecai, is that the sound of music I hear? Ha ha ha. And they both turn and have an aside, and he's like, dude, let's use the power on Pops. And Mordecai's like, I don't know, Pops is kind of weird. And they look back, and he's just laughing at a butterfly all, and Rigby's like, exactly. At least we can test it out on him, and he won't get at us if it doesn't work. Okay, but let's not call him a loser. Why not? He's sensitive. I don't want him to cry. I just want him to give us a raise. Okay, let's do it. And they're like whispering, and they turn around, and Rigby's like, hey, Pops, check it. And they like click, 5, 6, 7, 8. And they walk up, do their spin, clap, give us a raise, Pops. And then they like do this weird dance and spin and like land on each other's backs while the music ends. And Pops is like, ha ha, good show, jolly good show. A pay increase, yes, of course. Just let me get my billfold. Ah, here we are. And he pulls out Lollipop's Butterscotch Ripple. Now spend it on whatever you wish. This is your money. If you want bubblegum and comic books, which is probably what you want, then I say go get some bubblegum and comic books. And like the lollipops just slowly come into their face, and they're like, what the? And they like look up and they grab it. And then he just runs off, ta-ta! And Rigby's like, dude, I think that just worked. Or Mordecai says that, and Rigby's like, yeah, I know. I mean, if Pops wasn't so weird, he might have given us actual money. Totally. And they have a beat, and then they just run off screen. And then there's like a beat with the keyboard still there, and Rigby runs back and takes it, runs off. We wipe. And then we cut to the shed, and Benson is getting some tools out of the shed. And he hears behind him, hey, Benson! And he turns, and we see click, 5, 6, 7, 8. And they start dancing towards him. He's like, what are you doing? And they spin, clap, and give us a raise, loser! And then like the dramatic music as they wait. And then they back off, like not sure if it worked yet or not. And they like look at him to see if it worked. There's like a beat, and he looks kind of and he's like, you know, you guys have been working harder. I think you deserve a raise. We can negotiate your new rates later in the week, but for now, how's $20 sound? And he like shoves $20 bills forward, and they grab him and look. Keep up the good work. And Benson drives off. And Rigby's like, do you realize what this means? We can fix the hole? No, we can do everything we've ever wanted. And they like wipe, and it's a music montage, and like they're just running and playing the keyboard, and then they run into the center of a field, and a bouncy castle just like magically appears around them, and then they're inside like laughing and playing it. And then it just takes off like a rocket, and then we see them in space, and Mordecai plays it, and a fanny pack appears on Mordecai, and then Mordecai like points at him laughing, and then they float off screen, and then we see a keyboard slide in, and Mordecai and Rigby are like sliding in eating food, and then both their heads turn into, or they just both turn into tacos. And Mordecai takes a bite out of Rigby, and Rigby turns, and they both laugh, and then a keyboard like wipes the screen, and we see them like running out of the sky laughing, and then they slam into a chest, and they stumble back, and they're like, hey, Skips. And they look at him, and Skips is there, and he's like, why were you floating in the sky? You two are supposed to be working. And like Rigby's like, dude, get to the power. And Mordecai's like, sure, Skips, we were just gonna get back to work. And then Rigby goes, and by back to work, we mean not back to work, haha! And he clicks it, 5, 6, 7, 8. Using the power in your face. And then like music as they walk towards him, and then they're like, just get lost, you waste of space. Like, and then they walk back, and they're like, don't look at our crotches while we synchronize our watches. Boop, boop, whip, boop, 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 whip, boo. They're like clicking their watches. And then they like walk back and perfectly synchronized. They're like synchronized. And then they pull out sweaters and they start putting them on to the beat of this boom, boom, boom. And Skips is getting real pissed off. And Mordecai and Rigby are doing that crappy sweater thing that kids do, where it's like, go away, Skips, it's time for you to go away. And Mordecai's like, it's time for you to go to your room. And then Rigby jumps in, yeah, Skips, it's time for you to go to the moon. And Skips is, like lifts up and swirls and just disappears. And Mordecai's like, where did he go? Did you just send Skips to the moon? Isn't that what you said? No, room. I sent him to his room, not the moon, you idiot. And then they look over, and Pops and Benson are coming out of the house, and Mordecai's like, oh, okay, Benson and Pops can help us. No, we can't tell anyone, we're gonna get fired. This isn't a hole in the wall, it's Skips. And then Benson's there, he's like, hey, have you two seen Skips? And Rigby says no, but Mordecai says yes. And Rigby punches him, and then Mordecai punches him back way harder, and he's like, oh. And then Benson's like, what did you do? And Mordecai's like, we accidentally sent Skips to the moon with his keyboard, and now we have to get him back. Benson doesn't believe him, and Pops is like, ooh, I love the moon. Come on, where's Skips? Rigby sent him to the moon. Look, hold this. And Mordecai gives him a little cup, and he starts playing the keyboard. Float, little cup, float, little cup, float, little cup, float. And it like starts floating, and they're like, oh, and then Mordecai's like, then turn into something cool, and it starts turning into Skips, but just enough to convince Benson and Pops that we really did send Skips to the moon. And they're like, and then they believe him, and Benson's like, what do we have to do? And we wipe. And then we're at the house, and Rigby's waiting in the cart as they come out of the house. Come on, let's go. Jeez, take forever. And then Mordecai's like, sorry, Pops had to go to the bathroom. And Benson's like, so what do we do? Don't worry, we got it. And Mordecai and Rigby both take the keyboard, and they're like, take us to the moon, take us to the moon. Whoa, won't you take us to the moon? And nothing happens. And Benson's like, haha, very, and it like disappears, and they're like screaming in the cart, like racing through space. And then we cut to the moon. Cut to the surface of the moon, and all of a sudden the cart like dumps them, like they crash, land, and they all get tossed. And they're all coughing. Oh, and Benson sits up first. He's like, what is all this junk? There's all kinds of trash all over the moon. And Benson's like, I thought you sent him to the moon, not to the dump. Don't get mad at me, guys. And Rigby's like, but I kind of sent a bunch of stuff to the moon while you guys were grabbing stuff in the house. What? I was bored. And we cut back to what he was doing. And he's like, a bunch of little ducks, send them to the moon. Soda machine that doesn't work, send them to the moon. Guy to fix the machine who'll show up between noon and 5 p.m., send them to the moon. And Mordecai's like, you idiot, what else did you send? And we hear, roar, a big roar, and we cut, and we see Skips, and there's this weird monster that's kind of a combination of Mordecai, Rigby, and their wrestling doll. And Pops is like, look, it's Skips, there he is. And they stumble back. Benson, what is that? And then Mordecai's like, Rigby, you guys go get Skips. Okay, okay. And he takes the keyboard, and Mordecai, we'll pick you up. Come on, Pops, help me. And he's trying to like flip the cart back over, and Rigby runs by. Let's go, let's go. And they take off. We pan over, and we see like the monster's already grabbed a hold of Skips, and it's roaring. And we cut to the ground, and like Rigby throws the keyboard down, and he's gonna try to take care of it. Benson's like, come on, give me a break. I gotta come up with the words, you know. Okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, I got it. And he's like, go away, big monster, go. And then go, no. And then he's like, and Benson's like, what? And he's just clicking, and there's no sound coming out. Dude, I think the batteries just died. What? How are we supposed to get back? And then the monster roars. Benson's horrified, and Rigby sees that Benson's horrified, and we just back. And Mordecai's like, dude, hurry up. They got the cart flipped over, and Rigby's like, the batteries died. What? And he turns and he looks, and then he gets an idea, and we kind of truck into his face, and like it dissolves so that we can see some of the past over his face. And we hear Rigby, ham-boning can suppress a 50-foot monster. And he's like, yeah, ham-boning will save your life someday. It'll be all like, what, you trying to mug me? And then we cut to the part with Pops, and Pops is just like, take it all, take it all. And Rigby, we cut back to Rigby solid, and he's like, I know what to do. Hold this, and he gives him the keyboard, and he just runs off, and he's like, no! Skips is about to get eaten, and then Mordecai's like, oh, Rigby, you idiot, not that ham-boning again. And then the monster just like reacts before eating Skips and looks down, and Rigby's just like slapping the out of the monster's leg, and the monster's like raising his fist to go and crush him, and it distracts him long enough for Skips to like force the hand open and fall, and he starts like skipping really fast. And Rigby's just like, yeah, like slapping it. And Skips like gets him right before the fist crushes, and the monster looks and there's nothing, and then we hear Rigby, woo, ha ha, like laughing, and they like jump onto the back of the cart and peel out and come towards camera, and drive right past the monster, and the monster's like goes after him, and we see the cart like take off, and the monster after him. And Mordecai's like, dude, I found some batteries in the glove compartment. And Skips is looking back, and the monster's coming right at them. And Benson's like, hurry up, hurry up. And he's putting the batteries in. And then Rigby's like, got it. And then, take us home, take us home, take us all back home. He plays it really quick. And as soon as they disappear out of the cart, the hand comes in and crushes the cart. And we cut to them zipping through space, screaming, ah! And then we cut back to the outside of the house, and there's a poof, and they all like fall to the ground. Oh! And then we see Rigby kind of stand up first. He's like, ha ha ha, we did it, yeah! And then a hand comes and takes the keyboard away, and he's like, hey, that's mine. And Benson's like, nope, you sent him to the moon, so the least you can do is give him your keyboard. Right, Skips? Right. And just smashes it. And he's like, and let's have it. What? The $40 you two conned out of me with that stupid keyboard. I know you still got it, now give it back. And they're like, oh, they take the $20 and give it back to Benson. And he takes it, and they walk back into the house, and he's like, can you believe this? And then it's crazy, and we hear a door slam, and they're just looking, and they're all bummed. They're like, oh, dude, this sucks. We never even got to fix the hole in the wall. And he's like, yeah. Oh, hey, I know. What if we just put a poster over the hole? Dude, you're a genius. And they high five, and we cut to black on the high five.